All right, what's up, everybody? Great to be back. Obviously, we got a big one today. We're doing what everybody always fiends for. Every chat, every time, we're going to be hitting the tier list. So we're going to be doing the Silver Age tier list today, and we have, you know, a lot to discuss. It's a brand new format. We just had a tournament for it, so we're not going in completely blind, but it is it's just a lot to discuss. And what I want to do before actually hitting um the tier list, I want to kind of just talk about Silver Age in a nutshell, kind of just in the beginning, right? And kind of what are some of the things that players are kind of pulling at with their deck building decisions, and what are some of the strong things that you can be doing, and some of the things that maybe are not as valuable as we see in other formats. So I want to kind of lay the groundwork on kind of where I think the format is shifting holistically, and then we'll go into the tier list and kind of discuss all of those things, of course. Looking forward to the 30-minute debate on which DGA deck is best between Dory, Fang, Olympia, and Bolton. Um, yeah, I don't think it's much of a decision, to be honest. I know people like to make it a discussion, but I think that's easy. That's easy. Um, yeah. Also, Scurv S tier list. Stop it, bro. Not gonna play League. Maybe in a couple hours. Maybe in a couple hours I'll be there. Um, yeah, so let's talk about Sage as a whole. Okay. After observing, playing a little bit, and just, you know, really just soaking it all in from the calling, it seems that the best thing that you could be doing is not necessarily producing value, but keeping your opponent from extracting value. And that seems to be like, you know, the best thing that you can. And what do I mean by that? Like DGA is obvious, right? Like you cut their block in half, it makes block card shit. Like that's face up. There's no discussion to be had there. It's good, right? But you have other decks that are moving into the format like Kano, right? Like you can only when they send Arcane for 6, you can only prevent so much of it. It makes a lot of your if you do depend on blocking a lot, then you lose a lot of value there because you can only devote so many resources on the defense in that situation. So Kano proves to be doing really, really good, right? And there's a couple other angles that you have, and then you just have raw value in aggression, right? And we saw. I really liked the angle that Hamilton had with the meat axe intimidate kind of structure, where the deck seemed very flexible in what it was doing. Is it better than KO? Probably not, to be honest. But I think the idea was very unique and very interesting. But it really seems like there's three camps, okay? And it may get a little bit more complex than that the further we go down the road with this format. But it seems like you just have pitchless aggro, okay? And when I say pitchless, I don't mean like actually pitchless, but just very low resource cards. Brier's a good example. Most Lexi lists are pretty low on resources. And, you're just trying to you can keep that aggression because all your cards are red and all of them are good, right? There's enough of a critical mass of those aggro cards to where you can kind of get something together with all three of those decks, really. And from that point on, what one of the other angles that you can take is kind of non-interaction. And what do I mean by? I mean like stacking with Florian, or you can go Kano, or even Enigma in some cases if the other decks don't have the tools equipped to kind of interact with it. And just kind of, or what I kind of leaned on previously, where you want to be doing things that kind of deny the opponent value, not necessarily you trying to extract a bunch yourself. Although doing both is really good. And then you have, you know, I guess Enigma would actually go in the board state section, which would be the third that I was going to mention. Then you have the board state section, or the existence of mid range, to be honest, in Sage, I think the idea is kind of dead. I don't think there is any true. I don't think there's any true mid range. Not mid range in the aspect of just trading value for value, right? I think that there has to be more to it than that. Because if that was the case, then like dual wielding warrior would be a thing, and it's pretty shit. It has to negatively impact your opponent in some way, and I don't mean disrupting. I mean just literally not letting them leverage their cards for value, depending on the situation, aka Kano, DGA, and things like that. So really prioritizing that a lot in the meta going forward. And I'm interested to see how much room we can edge away from the aggro decks. And I think we're going to see a pretty sharp drop. It's not going away anywhere. I mean, it's a 20 health format. Aggro will always exist. It'll always be probably the biggest piece of the pie, but it doesn't have to be 40, 50%, right? So let's go ahead and bust out the good old tier list, okay? And we can go ahead and discuss. We can go ahead and discuss some of these heroes. We're just going to fly through them, to be honest with you, okay? We were just going to just fly through them, okay? Because to be honest, a lot of them, there's literally no reason to be playing these heroes. That's just the honest truth, okay? And I don't even know the order. How crazy is it that I'm looking at these heroes? Like, I had to do a double take. I don't know who this is. I'm pretty sure that's Huntsman, but like these young hero pictures, bro. I haven't played Blitz since like Nam. Like it's been a long time since before the first U.S. Nationals was like the last time I played Blitz. So these pictures are throwing me off. I'm just used to something completely different. But let me get caught up in chat before we start placing. Don't want to miss anything there. Okay, what do we got? What do we got? In Q. That's never gonna get old, bro. It's never gonna get old. Oldham D tier psyop time. Definitely not D tier. Must be on cloud 9 seeing Brier as top Sage deck. Well, that's interesting because it's in my opinion that she's actually not. I do love seeing her doing well. But I think that there's some weaknesses that are going to get, I think people are going to take advantage of them. And yeah, that's just Arachne. Yeah, it's just Arachne. And luckily, if you hover over it, it'll tell me. But we'll get there. So how do we even want to do this? I guess let's talk about. Let's just throw all the shit that's bad, right? Let's just take all of that and just go from there. And once again, okay, it's not. Some of these heroes might actually be like semi-viable, right? I spoke too soon. But like, you really shouldn't be playing them. Like, there's no like objective reason to really be doing this. Fine, maybe, probably not. Azuri trash. Okay, so Cavdane obviously has like 0 card pool, and then Teklo Volson, like there's other decks that are better at doing the slow dirtily thing. He's not fast enough. Azuri, let's talk about. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna switch it up a little bit. We're gonna leave those there because that's like obvious shit. But like, we're gonna go class by class. Is what we're gonna do. We're gonna shake this up a little bit, and because it just seems like the best way to do it. Let's talk about assassin, okay? Because if you are an assassin player, I'm sorry, because if you look at any assassin deck in like CC, right? The number one aspect of that deck is just a shitload of majestics, right? It is just it is legit majestic dot soup. Like that's just all it is, right? And there's just no power in the commons and rares. Like you get shred. Like that's like your power card, right? It's just not good. The rate on the cards that are built into the on hits, and half the on hits you don't really get. And if you have to play the cards that force your on hits, well, then your rate becomes not as good as if you just got the value from just playing the card. So, because at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, like, if you have to swing 2 daggers and throw in an infect, like, was it really worth it, right? And obviously, that's an exaggeration. That's a little blown out, but you get what I'm saying. Um, if you have to roll the inconsistency of playing cards like Shred when people may block, may not block, things like that, and you're trying to get these on hits, it can make the value overall just worse. So Huntsman has like nothing going for him. You're not going to be able to fatigue, or you're not going to be able to block enough. I know you have the armor set, which is great, right? But literally, Blade Beckoner is just about as good. 90% of your matchups, you can get 2 value out of them, and that's all the Graven set is doing. And you can try to mill off the top. That's fine. I just don't think that there's enough defensive cards in the toolkit of Assassin, because Assassin D-reacts that you can play, or Nurture Trap, shit like that. They all block 3. They don't block, 4. They're not like the Guardian block cards, so you will get chipped down, and they will work your way down, and you don't have the armor set, truly, like the shield and stuff like that, to really make up the difference. So Assassin in general, I mean, obviously Solitary Confinement's probably the best one, where it's like actually decent to play because you have a lot more aggression that you can output, and you can present multiple on hits um instead of just leaning it all on one, or giving your opponent agency on denying that on hit, whatever the case may be. So and with these lesser heroes, we're going to move pretty quickly. So we're not just going to throw everything down, but we have a lot of heroes. 52 left. Okay, chat. We got to crank through these, okay, or else I'm not going to be able to play League with the boys, right? We have to do that. So what other assassins we got left? We got New for sure. Do we have any others? I gotta skim the list, but these pictures are throwing me off. Now, New's the interesting one, right? Because she theoretically has a place in the meta. Like, I would say that this is the only assassin on the board where it's like, okay, there's an objective reason to actually lean on this hero. And that's if like just blue card Dirtle runs the format, right? So we're talking Guardians, we're talking mainly just Guardian. If it becomes a Guardian format, which I think there's several things preventing that from happening, then New becomes a decent choice, mainly because you can just mill them and play their own cards, and there's a lot of different avenues that you can actually attack. The problem is I don't see that coming to fruition in the current card pool that exists. However, I will put an asterisk and say that if that format ever develops, well, it might be at the end of the Silver Age section of the ProQuest season. Maybe Guardians just take a foothold, right? Maybe New is a possible answer on that, right? And yeah, New can attack that angle. But if that angle does not exist, it's not good. And so that's why I'm going to place her in C tier, because I'm going off of the situation right now. But if Guardians go up, her stock rises as well. So take that for what it is worth. Okay. So let's move on to let's do Warrior. Okay, let's talk about some Warriors. Okay. Now, Warrior is pretty interesting. This is sorry, I just got bamboozled by myself. Okay, so let's go over Warrior. So there's really only one thing you should be doing with Warrior, to be honest. Like, there's some discussion about Bolton. I'll I'll wait and believe it when I see it. Okay. So DGA is the thing that you do in Warrior. Everybody knows that now. It did really well at the calling. The Sigil team brought it and did phenomenal, right? I think two Kieran and Pierre both landed in top 8 with it, and a couple others did fairly well on it. So the deck is good, okay, and it has a lot of unique ability. Some matchups that you would think is like, oh, it's just auto loss like Enigma, right? It's actually a really good matchup because of things like Shunt and stuff like that. So, and it has the ability to pivot and go aggressive, which is pretty valuable. And so that's the most powerful thing that you can do in Warrior. Dawnblade is trash. It just is. I'm sorry. Anybody with Unmovable in their list, you just lose to. And to be honest, you don't generate enough value. You literally have to be playing against a dummy that just lets 2-card Warrior's Valor land like that. That's the best thing that you can be doing, and it's not even that good. So you get outraced by the aggro. And that's another thing is with Dawnblade at lower life totals, you don't have as enough runway to actually take advantage of counters. So by the time you get the counters, you're blocking with your hand so you don't die. Okay, I'll give you an example. You're playing against a Brier, right? And you go, okay, Warrior's Valor, and I got the D-React, and you hit, and you get your counter. Cool. She goes, 15 damage, right? What do? Take it? Okay. She'll block 2 cards with her embodiment, then start forcing you to block. And then you're kind of fucked, right? Is the tough spot in that situation. And that's like the best case scenario, you go in second. So it's just not good. It's not a great place to be. Plain and simple as that. So with that being said, I think Dory is just phenomenal, and I think she's the best version of DGA. The whole interaction with the bolters and swinging it a second time, you really have to have, if you've ever played the matchup, it's not just block slop fatigue. That's not how the deck operates. The deck operates on the basis of kind of like that Outsiders limited philosophy where it was like, what was it, Azuri, Riptide, and Katsu, and I think Azalea as well, where like every game ended in fatigue, but it was that offensive fatigue where you like were trying to not die, and that's why you ran out of cards. It wasn't because everybody was just blocking. It was because you had to block or you died. And DGA works on the same philosophy. They're just trying to work your life total down, and then once you start having to block, you get so much value from DGA that it's absolutely insane. And Warrior arguably has probably the best armor set. It's really fucking good, okay? But Brute and maybe Valda can contest that a little bit. But like, it's a great armor set. And yeah, you have really good D-reacts like Shunt, things like that. So you can kind of you can outlast like some dominate decks like the newer Bravo and decks like that. You can kind of play around that evasion of dominator, confidence, whatever the case may be. So she kind of has all the tools that she really needs. So if I had to place her, a lot of people would say she's probably S, and I would say that at the previous tournament, she absolutely was S tier. But now that people are going to be like, okay, this is what's here. We know this is coming. We're going to play a couple games against it. We're going to learn it a little bit. I think she actually drops to probably the top of A. She's not going to go too far down from the top of A. Might even be the best deck in A. But like, I think she just loses a little bit of equity when people really just understand what is happening. So definitely for this past weekend, 100% S tier bring. But now I think it just loses a little bit of equity. So with that being said, finishing out the warrior class, I mean, there's just no reason to bring this hero. Like, you don't have the payoff cards for Casai, right? Just no reason to bring them. This bottom tier, I'm not even going to try to place this in like any legit order. It just doesn't even make sense. I mean, Huntsman could do something maybe with Meal. I don't know. I don't think it's really that relevant. So where are my other warriors at? We got Fang. I mean, same thing. Like, there just isn't a reason. Fang, I mean, depending on how many reactions you get, he could actually be a viable option depending on what you're actively trying to do. But under the assumption that DJ is the best thing the warrior class can do, um, the, my favorite thing about Fang is he's not pitching cards, right? Or that's his goal. The question is, how long does it take to get him there, and things like that. So it's really interesting, to say the least. We have, yeah, we got some more warriors. Is this 2 Kasais? Oh my god, we got so many Kasais and they're both trash. Okay. Any other warriors? Yeah, we got some warriors. We got some Olympias. I never understood that there was obviously Olympia in the top 8 on why you would pick Olympia over Dory. Is it the helmet? Is it to get the extra swing on the refraction bolters is insane. It's so much value because you just hover them. And if they ever disrespect you, you're able to convert your blues into actual legit value, sometimes 4 to 5 value. And it's just insane. So I mean, I just gotta, and then that's a good point. Like so is Bolter's DGA that it's insane because it allows you to convert that hand that you otherwise would not be, right? Because one of the best things that you can do against that deck is you can block your hand and set something up and then do one really big push. Well, if that happens and now you're sitting there with your hand that really supposedly pushes, then goes sharp and steel, decimated great axe, that axe is going to hit, pop bolters, gets go again, you swing it again. It's insane. It just allows you to convert that hand. At 20 life, you only need that one time to really, to be honest, that is actually what I'm doing. The comment is, I mean, Def should should have a DGA and S tier. Well, I mentioned that I think in the last tournament it would have been S tier, but I think once people realize how they're playing against it, I think it loses some equity. And the comment in chat is also correct that any of these heroes can play a lot of these cards. Like there's the only thing you're losing is that one extra swing a turn by switching your warrior. So in all actuality, like by definition, you should theoretically make the argument that every warrior is at least B or higher. But the way that I do my tier list is if you have this, why would you ever play this? Olympia, I get it. And I'll put some respect on him. And I'll put him in the top of B, lower A, depending on how many heroes we have in that category. But like the other ones, like why? If you can run Decimator, you're literally just memeing because you can have a strictly better option. So that's why in an objective power level, sure, they go probably B tier, right? But you're just memeing from a competitive standpoint if you're bringing those. Blocking DJ and setting up doesn't seem realistic because of failing the swing, though. They run 6 for a reason. Well, that's the point, right? And if you lay your whole hand down, felling is you're banking that they don't get the felling on the next turn, right? And but you're 100% correct. Like the actual optimal way is to push just enough to where they can't lean into the hand, and then while actively setting up and taking burst turns, or you have to run an aggro deck that doesn't pitch. And you just have to have consistent aggression over and over and over. You just wear them out over time. That's why it's actually a bad matchup for DGA is like Brier, Phi, matches like that is actually what gives DGA its hardest time. Is that just overall, just over each turn, offensive value. Then we're going to any other warriors left? I don't think so. Watch me forget somebody. Watch me forget somebody, and then I'm gonna get called out. Oh yeah, Bolton. Okay, so people are like I know he got the 0 for 5 with Go again. I get it, but like Come on, guys. Are we for real? Is this what we're doing? It is actually a decent aggro deck. I just don't know why you would actually play it, if I'm being honest. So I'm probably put him at the bottom of C tiers where he'll land. I don't think he's like super bad, but like I don't think he's pushing the envelope too much, to be honest. I would probably make the list without really factoring in DGA, else things get weird as you're seeing. Yeah, I mean that's a good point. But okay, if I do that, then like legit everything, then it lands in the same place. Because like what is Casai doing without DGA? Like it's horrible. It is legitimately just terrible. You have nothing to spend your copper on. You got gold doesn't matter. I mean, it's just really bad. So it might actually result in the same thing if I don't factor in DGA for all of them, which is kind of hilarious. But it is what it is. So let's go ahead and dive into probably one of the most interesting classes in Sage, which is Mechanologist. Okay. Now, boost in Sage is actually one of the most broken keywords to exist, and I'll explain why. When you boost away your 40 card deck, the game ends sooner, and you can stop wasting your opponent's time as you boost your cards away and you just get fatigued by anybody with 3 blocks. So you just expedite and give everybody longer breaks. And that is truly just overpowered, right? I'm gonna keep it a buck. I think that the Mechanologist class overall needs a rework. The keyword boost just does not work in a low power, low card, low life format. And I'll explain the mathematical reason on why it's so bad in Sage. Okay. Most people say that, oh, you have, half the life and you have 20 less cards, right? Going from 60 to 40, right? Well, one, you can't board up, right? So that's one thing going against you, comparing the two formats. Two, if you look at the total block value of an equipment set, okay, let's say the average fridge in Sage is 8 block value. I'm just throwing a number out there. I don't know what it mathematically actually is. But in CC, it's 12. Or that's a little high, but like 10. We'll just say 10. If people are actually trying to block, okay? We'll say 7 and 10, okay? So you get theoretically about a 40% increase in armor going from Sage to CC. The problem is that 3 value does not stretch that much when you go from 20 to 40 life, right? So you have a 50% increase in life, but only 3 more armor, right? And so when you scale that down, you basically are left with a small deck that you can't board over 40 cards in, and you still have a good fridge. The Blade Beckoner equipment is insane, right? So, I mean, that's what it ultimately boils down to. And somebody actually has a good point, is you basically, maybe Puffin is the answer. Maybe that is the rework. That's actually kind of brilliant. But the boost, anything that operates and revolves around the boost keyword is just not doable in Sage. It just isn't. It's just bad. Like there's not enough outpaces in the world or ways to like connect on boom grenades. You're just gonna get eaten alive. And not only that, you can't even set up these really juicy, like big turns by pitch stacking and things like that because the life totals are so low that they'll work your life total down while you're setting all of that up. And then you'll just have to start blocking by the time you get to it. So it really is just a recipe for disaster for the keyword boost. So all of this hate that I'm about to direct to this class is not toward the class, it's to the keyword boost. So I'll put an asterisk on these placements that if somebody can design the deck around not having to lean on the keyword boost, you'll probably have something. And maybe it's good. I don't know. But other than literally like chat mentioned, other than Puffin, what is that? You don't have induction chamber, you don't have purifier, you don't have any of those tools. So dash is just it's just not good. I don't know what to say. And the other dash is not good either. And Data Doll? Like, surely not. Play an item off the top, but you lose the cerebellum. You lose all. No, it's trash. I know she had her moment in Blitz temporarily. But like, it's just, but Puffin's legit. I will concede that point. And this is what we're actually going to, this is what we're gonna see. And I'm gonna take a pause real quick before we finish the mech class. When I envision Sage, and maybe I'm on an island here and nobody else thought that this was how it was going to, how it was gonna, kind of go down. But when I thought of the brand new format of Sage, I was like, it's going to be open. It's going to be so much stuff, kind of flying around and so many different options. But honestly, like right now, and I'm not hating on the format. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just kind of saying what it is. Where CC, let's say that like half the decks are meme and half the decks are like, okay, respectable. If you're like from a specialist standpoint or whatever. And I don't know if that's the split. I'm just throwing a number out there. In Sage, it's got to be like 30-70. Okay, like 70% of the decks are like, you're just memeing. Okay. And whether it be from a absolute power perspective or a relative, because both are relevant, right? Once again, why are you playing these other assassins when you have solitary confinement? Or why are you playing the other warriors when you have DGA, Dory? Why are you playing, why are you playing the other mechs when you have Puffin, right? So I think the solution for this and what I'm trying to get to is I think the future in Sage is a lot of specialization cards. I think that's the only way that you are going to fix this huge disparity of power, okay? Because so much of the power is built into the hero text. That's where like 90% of the power is found. Unless you just have something broken in your card pool, right? Most of the Guardians are absolute dog shit, but they have fucking 15 different 4-block cards in a format that apparently it's illegal to run those unless you're Runeblade. Sucks to suck. But you get what I'm saying. So that like literally salvages it. But if you had a shitty hero ability and you didn't have those 4 blocks, well, now like everything but Oldhim is like just dead, like horrendous, right? And so I think that's really how they're going to approach this. And to be honest, it's a little worrisome if they do, as I'm kind of hating on my own idea because let's just pick a hero, Tekla. Imagine the power level of the specialization card you would have to print to make him relevant over Puffin. Just think about that. either one, you have to do what you did in Compendium on CC side. You have to dedicate fucking 14 cards to him to make him, to give him like a whole new archetype. Or you have to print something that's so busted that when you draw the card in the game, you win. And if you don't draw the card in the game, you lose, which we don't want that, right? That's not what we're looking for. What I want to see, and I think this is actually, the more I'm talking about it, the more I'm coming to the realization. I think what I want to see is these Sage decks giving those new identities. We don't need fresh bulk cards. We don't, I mean, I respect what they are, right? I would spend $20 not to have to go through my bulk. I'm sold, okay? But at the end of the day, if you made a Sage deck for Tekla Awesome, you can give him 2 sets of Evos, you can give him a couple specialization cards, you can come up with a new keyword, you can do all of this and solve it in a $20 ticket to the Pro Tour. Now, I say that, and that's a huge amount of, you know, development time, and I get that, because you're having to like reinvent, you know, 20 heroes with a pre-established hero ability. Like, that's tough, okay? But I'm just trying to throw some ideas out there, because this is not going away. This will be here forever, unless they take some action on kind of reducing the discrepancy. And you might try and make the point that somebody might, I would assume, would kind of land on, is like, well, that's what the season bans are for, is to kind of open things up like that. I don't think that's the case. I think you just kill the class. So like we'll give an example, right? Like, let's say that they ban some Guardian 4 blocks, and the only Guardian that is left relevant is Oldhim, and we vote out Oldhim. Well, now Guardian is just dead, because Valda's not good enough without the 4 blocks, or Farvo's not good enough without the 4 blocks, and so on. So you just kill the class. You don't move the next one up. Some classes can handle that transition, like Runeblade. If you voted out Brier, a similar Aurora deck could arise, right? And kind of fill that void. Is it going to be as good? No, it's not. But like, it would be like serviceable, right? But some classes, you just neuter it by taking out that top deck. So that, let's be careful with that idea that the season bans are going to take care of that problem, because they're not. They're just going to change what the problem is. And maybe it's not a problem. I don't want to talk like that. I don't want to say that it's like a flaw or anything like that. I'm just saying, you're acting like LSS can't just ban or unban cards if a problem heroes are gone. If Oldhim Fatigue is dead and you unban the 4 blocks until he returns. So yes, that is an option. But do you envision the company like, okay, Oldham's in, we have to, that looks ridiculous the second time you do it. I get what you're saying, right? Guys, Oldham's legal this season. We're banning 3 of the 5 Guardian block cards. Okay? Cool. We're down. Well, next round, we're still tired of Oldhim. We vote him out, and they bring him in. Okay? And then Oldhim sticks around for the next season. Then you're going to move him out again? One, that is solving the symptom, not the problem. And 2, it looks bad. Plain and simple. When you go back and forth on a card like that, once again, you have a problem and you're putting a Band-Aid on it. So just some thoughts there. Once again, I'm not talking shit on it. I'm just saying that the hero power in the equipment set goes so much further in this format than CC. That's how the format sold. If the problem with the player bans, but it's what LSS said they're going to try and do to make sure we don't end up in bad metas. I mean, yeah, like, but I mean, once again, like, I don't know that they can keep reaching and pulling back and things like. I know they're going to do their best, right? Like if we fuck up and ban all the aggro decks, they're going to nuke the ever loving shit out of Enigma, right? But there's no shot that we're going to go back to banning like all the aggro decks, right? So maybe they can bring something back in. That's way more contextual than, oh, this hero's in the format, therefore these cards can't exist, and we just keep swapping and swapping and swapping. That's a bad image. Don't want to do that. You just fix the game is what you do before you go through all of that. But I agree. They're gonna give certain decks the ban hammer. You know, they might say, oh well, I don't know of another example, right? But that's a good one. Where if they ban all the aggro, if we ban the aggro decks, then or vice versa. If we ban Enigma and Dromai, then maybe they nuke the shit out of Guardian or any deck that just wants to block a bunch. So it's interesting how they're going to kind of go from that. So finishing out the Mechanologist 30 minutes later. Sorry about that. I got on a little bit of a tangent. We'll go to Puffin, which is probably the only like actual real mech in the format, to be honest. And I think the deck is actually pretty decent. Like it does decent numbers, but it will suffer, and you'll see a consistent thing in this format, and that is that that's probably even a little high. If you're an aggro deck and you rely on resources, you're behind, and I'll explain why. If I could just vomit 0 for 4s, why would I want to run blue cards and risk drawing too much blue cards, not enough blue cards, not a go again card, not that, like why go through all of that when I can just vomit 0 for 4s? It doesn't make any sense. So in the current structure, the way things are currently, you either play a very disruptive aggro deck, something like Lexi, that has a little bit of pitch, but the reason you're playing that hero is to disrupt the other aggro decks, or you do not pitch, or you play something like Fi, where like you can convert the blues either way. But if you're the only deck that should ever operate on the axis of aggro that requires a pitch card is probably Brute. And that's because the things that they're doing are so far above rate in the Sage format that the risk is worth the reward. Puffin ain't doing that broken shit in Sage. It's just not happening, right? So there's no reason to take on the risk of having to pitch cards. Doesn't make any sense. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. I know that was a little bit long-winded to say the least. Okay. So we just talked about Brute. Let's dig into that, okay? We can start with the one that I just mentioned, and that is Kayo. Oh God, which one's which? Not Berserker Runt. Regular Kayo. This deck is bananas. I had a conversation with Pierre yesterday, and he actually had a lot of valid points. I was originally going to place him in A, but I think he is actually S tier. In the fact that he just blocks really well. They have so much consistent go again. Just look at the rares in the commons that Brute has ever since Super Slam came out. You kept Buck Wild, you got your Wild Ride still, your Pulping, your Bear Fangs, all of those two. All you lost, really, is Blood Rush Bellow, which sure, that hurts, and Two Freights. Fundamentally, nothing else in the deck has changed. Yeah, you don't have Beast Within and some shit like that. Like, okay. But everything else, you just kept it all. And it's actually bananas. In a low power format, you can just get evaporated. So I think that Kayo is actually really good in this format. Personally, I'm here for the tangents. I appreciate it. There'll be more to come for sure. More to come for sure. So let's talk about another, not this one. I mean, all right, if you play Berserker Runt, okay, I respect you, but you're memeing, okay? Like, I respect it, but you are memeing, okay? And I'll never let you live that down. So, in this bottom row, I keep trying to look at it. It is not in any particular order, okay? This is just, I just threw it down here so I don't have to look at it. Is what I did, to be honest. Holy shit, we got 38 more heroes. We gotta go. We gotta go. How many have we went? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, almost 20. Oh my god, we gotta zoom. Okay, brutes. Which one sucks? Reinar, actually pretty decent. Okay. The fact that you can intimidate is actually really good in Sage. Once again, the one thing that I mentioned in the format, Reinar is going to end up at the bottom of A, could sneak into like the top of B, but denying people's ability to extract value is insane. And the clash cards really open up Reinar as an archetype. Okay. So yeah, I don't know what else to think. So I think Intimidate has value. Do you want now? I don't like the way Eugene has taken the deck, and this is the only time I'll ever disagree with Eugene. He was kind of like all in on the Intimidate, and we kind of saw the perfect example. He went first, went quad Intimidate, make a might token, dealt like, I don't know, it was like 10 or something damage, maybe 12 on turn 0 against a Fi, and lost. Because once you do that, you're not like doing anything of value, right? And the other decks will just like outvalue you. So, but what Michael Hamilton was doing with like the go again on the clash and swinging meat axe for the intimidate that was hot. Okay, I love that idea. Really, really good. So, Levia is interesting. Okay, I think she has a lot of power baked in, right? Has some burst, but also exploitable. Okay, still very, very solid deck, but she's exploitable, right? I think Ethan's 100% right. Like, if you just block down a Levia and CC, you're going to get just rolled and smoked. I think you can get away with it in Sage and just watch them just kind of mess up, right? So I think a lot of players would just lean on that, leave it up to variance, and call it a day. Any other brutes? There's some. Tough nut. Okay. I watched Levi and Sam talk about the new set on the episode that they just recently dropped, and I was massively disappointed in Sam. Okay, I'm usually a Sam fan. Okay, we're two Brier players that go way back. Okay, but he said he didn't give a shit about Tough Nut, and to be honest, that's a problem. Okay, now in this format, he's dog shit, absolute trash, unplayable. Okay, but in CC, I got you. In CC, I got you. It's happening. I'm making this deck a real thing. I got a little project going. We just got to iron it out. We're going to get there, okay? I guarantee it. We're going to get there. But you just can't be disrespecting my boy, okay? Can't be doing it, Sam. All right. RKO, extremely solid deck. And this is actually, when I first opened up the stream, I mentioned that the normal concept of mid-range is kind of dead. And this is the perfect example. All of RKO's tools that are really, really good are not majestic. Mocking Blow, you still have all of those. Like, so many of the tools are really, really good and accessible. He has just the absolute juice from the set. But it's still like not amazing. It's good, but it's not like gonna blow my mind, right? And so he might even dip into like the top of B tier. once again, does great numbers. Nathan plus Tough Nut equals 4 int. Everybody knows. That was the greatest quote from Kaiser. That was so good. Also, I will be in San Diego, so this weekend. So if you see me there, please say hi. Would love to chat. Also, you can probably find me at the Righteous Gaming booth. I'll be doing a little bit of work with Tyler. So if you need any product, those singles for your Sage deck, you know where to go. Stop by the booth. Would love to see you. Would love to chat. Between filling the 100 different orders that come in for commons and rares. Nothing sounds better than that. Maybe I can spark a little war between me and Sam for talking shit about Tough Nut. Or not really talking shit, but disrespecting him. Nothing but love. Nothing but love. So yeah, RKO does great numbers. Phenomenal mid-range deck. But I just think the mid-range concept is kind of dead in the water in Sage. I just don't think it exists the way we know it in CC. The game's not long enough to get those edges. I think it's about burst, it's about disruption, it's about non-interacting. Those are the key things that you need to be doing in this format. And KO, this KO does not do that. Holy shit, there's 3 fucking KOs. Insane. Any more brutes? I think we're done with the brute class. Okay, let's move on to the Guardians. Okay, Betsy is obvious, just total dog shit. This Bravo is just worse other Bravo, because why would you pay for just dominate when you can get +2 as well? So the real contenders here are, you have Valda. Terra's also kind of Terra is actually like serviceable. There's an angle there. I don't think it's a very good one, but there is an angle there. Okay, I'll respect it. I'll put a little respect on it. Okay, and so really we got Oldhim. Everybody knows Oldhim is a really good deck. The hero power is insane. I think that so many people have leaned into the Earth because it is the better card pool, better block values, relevant text, stuff like that. You lost a lot of tools like Ice Shield, Blizzard, Channel Lake Frigid. So you have to dip into like Arctics and Winter's Bites, which those cards are fine. They just don't have as much of an impact. So the opportunity cost to lean on that ice side of the hero ability, it comes in an opportunity cost, and it is an opportunity cost that you will have to pay if you plan on leaning on it. But just the overall defensive prowess of Oldhim can't be understated, right? Like it's good. Okay. Can it solve some of these other problems? That I'm not 100% sold on it, to be honest with you. But does good numbers. It does the block slop thing. It's Oldhim. Okay. Then we have what people call him, Farvo. Farvo is actually really good as well. Okay, so you have the ability. Once again, these Guardians are just riding on these 4 blocks. Okay, you have the ability. You have a huge fridge. Okay, you got the shield that you can run, and you just have the ability to. I think the first block card to go is the one that makes that seismic surge token. That shit is busted. Okay. The fact that you can block 4 and then debilitate on a 2-card hand or choke slam or whatever your 4 for 8 of choice is insane. Okay. And then if you want, you can even give it dominate and +2. Like it's wild. Okay. The question is I think this deck gets hated out of the format really easily because really all you need is a D-React to shut down a lot of that value. Because when you go 3-card 10, which is your 2-4, your 4 for 8 and 2 blues, activating the hero ability. If you don't get that on hit, 3-card 10 is like mid. It's mid as fuck, right? It's like 2 cards got 3 value and 1 got 4. I'd rather just throw 3 4 for 4s or 3 0 for 4s. So yeah, like it's solid, but if you get hit by a red shunt or an unmovable, it hurts. Okay, it's like, ooh, you invested a lot into that card, and especially the dominate. You basically invested a whole extra card for +2 damage just for it to get shut down. But if you have the ability to connect those, it's huge, massive value. Okay, so I think his role in the meta will kind of fluctuate between Farvo and Oldhim. Like, do you need to be disruptive? Okay, bring in Farvo. Or do you just need to block and stay alive? Oldhim. I think that's where we'll end up landing between the Guardians. And then, of course, you have Valda, which is a very solid hero. You still have the 4 blocks. There's some good decks that are drawing a lot of cards. You get the Surges, great armor set. So probably lands in A tier as well. But could be bumped down to possibly upper B, depending on how we land. But Valda, extremely respectable, solid bring. Once again, more on the Farvo angle of like you want to get your value from disruption, which you're kind of trying to do. So let's talk about. Oh, let's get into the nitty gritty. Okay, let's talk about Wizard. Okay, and we're gonna start with the talk of the town. It is my opinion that Kano is the best deck in the format. I think that Kano is B-diff. And I will explain why. I mentioned at the very beginning of the stream that one of the most powerful things that you can be doing is not letting your opponent extract value. And I know he doesn't have Striders, but we did forget about Victor. Oh shit. Yeah, he's aight. Sorry if you're a Victor. I mean, like, Test of Strength is great, but if you're not resolving that card, then you have no hero text. Like, I don't know. If you draw it, it's good. So going back to Kano, like the whole 2-cost Crucible Mage Master 2-cost is insane from the aspect of like, okay, you're going to present 10 to 13 arcane damage, and then your opponent now has a choice. They either kind of play into your game plan of going down to 7, and then now they have to be careful of what they hold back, which means they have to do things probably slightly inefficient, and you end up just on the next turn throwing a 2 for 5 or 2 for 6 because of Crucible, and leak them down to 4 and then kill them on their turn, right? Like, that texture and that line is really good. And if you don't have like an immediate answer, you just lose. Like, if you can't pressure their life total to where like, and here's the crazy part, you have to pressure their life total and then not die on your turn. And that's a lot to ask for. So I just think it's crazy good. You can beat fatigue if you're practiced. Now, it's Kano, right? So this will never be like the most represented deck. It'll never be any of those things. But this is your public service announcement, okay? You need to you have to respect this hero. You have to. I think that there's certain decks in the format that really don't need their sideboard. It's more of just a convenience kind of thing in certain matchups and things like that. I think we're going to start seeing some like weird game plans in the Kano where we're dedicating a ton of sideboard slots. I'm telling you, I was going through my bulk and I stopped and stared at a yellow arcane polarity, guys. It's that bad. Okay, a yellow arcane polarity. The red one's the juice, right? We all know that. Half of us are playing it. I was thinking about dipping into the yellow, okay, and seeing what I could kind of come up with as far as a game plan goes. But guys, The deck is just good. If you go first and you have no AB, you're fucked, right? They can test the waters, still hold some cards back to block. I mean, just so much going. I thought this hero was going to be dog shit. And it was because I did not make the connection of Mage Master boots. Those boots alone just changed the game. The fact that you can just shrink the game, you cut a whole turn cycle out of the game. Normally it's 6 arcane, 6 arcane, 6 arcane. Now we're doing the little game. Now it's just fucking here's 13. Now we'll do the game. And it just, even from the aggro deck's perspective, it's hard to beat it. It's like, you would think, oh yeah, Brier will eat this for lunch. Sure, it's probably not a bad matchup, but like, it gets dicey really quickly. Okay, one, you ain't got shit to pitch. So if they go first, like, you're leaking. Okay, you're leaking. You don't have that much spell void, right? No shock charmers, none of that fancy stuff. So I'm just saying, I'm picking the battle hardener showdown deck over what won the calling. I just think that this, when people realize that this deck is good, I think it's the best deck in the format. That is my opinion. I'm willing to die on that heel. So I'm going to lock that in no matter what goes forward. I think Kano is the best deck in the format. I was playing Kano to counter Decimator, but you're saying it just wins all the time. I mean, Kano is just good. It is just good. I don't know how else to say it. So let's dig into the other wizards. Ailio, I'm gonna keep this a buck. I don't, other than gaining access to like more snapbacks, I don't understand the reason to play this hero. The only thing that I can think of off the top of my head is you get two things. You get more snapbacks and you get more starting life. That's it. Everything else, overall, you have a way worse hero ability. Your card quality is, to be honest, you probably have to do a very similar game plan for it to be viable. So I think it's one of those situations where it's just strictly a worse version. Is somebody going to come up with some rinky-dink 2-card 5 arcane deck? Sure, somebody probably do it, but it is what it is. I drafted Kano in the history of draft, and yeah, Mage Master Boots is really good. Yeah, I did not put that together, and that, I think it just makes the deck. It's actually insane. It's no Storm Striders, but man, it's close. It feels like it in a 20 health format. Then you have Verdance. Verdance is interesting because theoretically, if you were going to do that in Ailio, you would just do it in Verdance. You would just start at 20 life and you just do big spell, but now you lose the snapback. So now you're like, okay, do you gain anything in the armor? You get AB2 on the helm with, no, that's a Majestic. No, you don't. You do not get that in the helm. Holy shit, if that card was in Sage. Yeah, I don't know what you're really gaining by playing that deck. Now, there could be a draft Rosetta version where you use her old school weapon where she gets the embodiment and you just run like 4-block city. I could see that as an angle. I don't think it's good. The reason that worked so well in limited was because the overall quality of decks were a lot lower. But in a constructed format, I think you're just you're taking too much damage to 2-card 4 to get embodiments. The value proposition that is just not there. The game's not going to go long enough, and you're just going to get burst down in a lot of situations. So, is there an idea and a concept there? Sure, I'll concede on that point. But overall, I think she's not that great. So, Kano B diff in the wizard category. So that's pretty much the lesson there. So let's. And we forgot about Icelander. Now, Icelander is an interesting one because that's where everybody went when we were like, Sage, we're going to start playing Ice Veins from Arsenal. And to be honest, the output is just this deck without Waning Moon is the most depressing thing I've ever seen. After seeing Icelander in Sage, I have so much respect for Waning Moon and what it does for the wizard class. It is actually insane. Because this deck without Waning Moon is, I'm being honest, it's kind of pathetic, to be honest. Like, you could just sit there and talk. You could sit there and just like discard to the Ice Veins and still come out ahead. Like, it's not that hard to beat. You are disruptive if the room is full of pitchless aggro decks. Do you win when you flip over Red Arctic Incarceration? Sure. Like, yeah, you can win those games. But if you play against anything else that just has blues, can weather a frostbite, I think you just lose. Simple as that. So there's an angle there, but it's not amazing. Okay. What do we go into now? Now, if they bring Waning Moon back, everything changes. It probably becomes the best deck in the format if Waning Moon comes back. So let's tip or forecast here is it's never coming back. But if it was, that would. We did Guardians and we left out Pleiades. I'm telling you, I'm fucked up by these young pictures. I like. Oh, and Lyeth. We did all of Guardian and we left 3 out. That's wild. That's disrespectful. Okay, let's fix that. I think Lyeth is kind of mid. I don't think you have the toolkit to really kind of like lean on any kind of synergy there. And if you were going for evasion, I think Pleiades is actually pretty decent. I think you can get a lot of value from. I know Mr. Classic mentioned the Helm, which is a great point. The on-demand confidence token. The problem is, are you defensive enough to last to get to that point? Because you have to draw the pumps and set up the attack. I think it's just too much that has to happen. And that's my beef with Pleiades. I think she's solid, but I think that having to line some of that stuff up and move the counters and things like that, Decimator needs to be its own hero in the graph. To be honest, that's literally how I did the Warriors. I said, who uses DGA the best? That's all that matters. And then Bolton had a 0 for 5 with Go Again. That's it. So, yeah, those two, they hide. All right. We've officially done, I think, maybe all the Guardians. Okay. Now let's do the most just, if there was ever a class that LSS just obviously hates and they never support the class, it has to be Runeblade. Okay. This class has just been neglected for so long. It's unbearable. Okay. Chain is obviously unplayable because they legit banned him because he was too good. And Brier's pretty good. Simple as that. Viserai actually ended up being a complete dud. It turns out that the whole Mauve Shrill line is way less consistent, or Mauve hit the high note into Nebula Blade. Like, all you have to do is just block those turns and then ask them what they're doing on the other turns. And the real answer is like, it is Brick City when you don't have the Majestics, and you don't have Mordred Tide or Revel or Creepers is really what's missing in this deck, okay? And for a good reason, right? You just have those consistency issues. If you draw the good hand, like, great. And if you look at the deck, like, on paper, the Viserai deck should be clicking, bro. And to be honest, it just doesn't, it's just not enough. Like if your opponent knows that all they have to do is just weather the storm and wait for you to just draw some dog shit hand that does like rune flash for 4 into weapon for 1 or 3, like it's depressing, bro. It's actually depressing. You have no resource dump and grasp. So if you go first and you draw a dog shit hand, guess what? You're keeping the dog shit hand. Or you get the amazing opportunity of attacking into your opponent and letting them fix their hand. So really, I would, and this all comes back to why would you play when you can just have a deck like Brier, Lexi that is just so consistently aggro. You don't need pitch cards. You don't need, you know, non-attack and attack ratios. Like Brier does it, but man, she's good. Like the new Lightning version, like it's fine. It happens when you draw all non-attacks, but man, it's rare. Okay. And some good old-fashioned card counting can prevent that as well. So why would you run a deck where it's like, oh, I got to draw a non-attack, an attack, and then a blue that's not those cards, and then maybe I can do something above rate? Fuck that. Okay, not doing that. Stacking, I wish you the best. You will fall over before you get your rune chance. Okay, I you will literally die with 2 counters on Runeblade Incantation. Okay? You just cannot play those. You take too much damage while trying to play those cards out efficiently. Does not work. Okay? The exception is maybe the Runeblade we'll talk about next. And so Viserai, man, on paper, I thought he, like, looking at the deck list, I'm just like, you know, I was like, man, he's got to be up in A tier, but it's just not it. Like, he's not bad. He doesn't do the thing as good. So I'll put him like at a respectful mid B, is where I would kind of put Viserai. Just, he could be S tier if you get the hands every hand. Like, I don't know how else to say it. Aurora is just strictly worse Brier. So, I mean, I guess she is good, but like, you know, it's just a better version in Brier. So let's talk about good old Florian. Now, there is the concept here with his new, the one course of Rotwood, I think is what it's called. It unlocks the potential for stacking, unlike Viserai, which is crazy to even suggest that Florian would be the better stack deck. But it's the fucking truth, because the thing about Chorus is you get to decompose without attacking. Very important. And it makes embodiments while it makes rune chance. So yes, you're having to pop your chess piece and play it, or pitch a card and play it. Like, that is expensive. But you're extending your runway by living longer and keeping your life total higher because it makes embodiments and things like that. So out of the Viserai and Florian game plan, the better stacker is actually, you know, it's somebody said that I think Aurora is shockingly low considering it's the best deck, or the same deck as Brier, just without 4 Earth cards. With the important part that you're missing is the embodiments. Okay, one of them doesn't have to pay to make them, and one of them also greatly increases the block value in their deck 90% of the time. So you play a less consistent, less block value version of the deck, which translates to it being way worse. That's my initial analysis on it. Like I said, it's still a solid deck. It does the aggro thing. It's cool. But like, the hero text is non-existent. Nobody in Sage is paying 2 fucking resources to get an embodiment of lightning. That is just trolling, literally. So yeah, Florian is the best stacker. So if we ever get to that meta, he's your guy. Okay. I just don't know if we're in that meta. So I am going to place him at, I think that like if that meta arises, he's in A, But right now, because I don't think we're in that meta, he probably goes to the top of B. Very solid deck, has a game plan. Just out of these decks, who you gonna stack? The one that diminishes your block value, the one that probably lives through it, the one that intimidates cards from your hand, the one that has dominate every turn, the one that also has a lot of dominate. Oh, the one that just spits out a bajillion damage, or the one that blows you up on your turn. You ain't stacking any of these decks except for maybe Oldham, and there's a good chance he lives. So, yeah. So I think that he's respectable when the meta forms to where he can actually take advantage of his skill set. I think he will rise in popularity and actually perform really, really well. Now we can talk about Vinnie. And Vinnie is a very interesting one because ultimately you have a deck that theoretically should be pretty decent. And we saw some with like Pummel and stuff like that. I think that you're just too light on your bailouts and you can just get a lot of bricks. And if the opponent knows what they're doing, it's a solid deck. Don't get me wrong. It's like super decent. Actually pretty good. But why require all of those synergies, the rune chant generators, the payoffs, and the blues when you need them, and all in the shadow card ratio? Why do all that when you can just vomit 0 for 4s? Just vomit them. Like, I don't get that. Now in CC, this hero seems like she's going to be a house coming up because she can no longer be fatigued due to embalm. But we're still working on that. So Vinny, I think, extremely respectable, but just not where it's at. Simple as that. And then saving, quite literally, the best for last. The pride and joy, Brier. I think Brier had, so first of all, a little bit of context of the calling. It was by a mile the most represented deck. Now, I want to explain why I think that is. Obviously, I think it won the last Sage event that was had. So there was this very solid deck list that a lot of people probably just built off of and made some adjustments, whatever the case may be. And we know that anytime there's a fresh format, aggro wins is kind of the mentality, right? It's like red deck wins, whatever. Aggro decks do really good because they're just like, I'm going to do this, and you let me know what you're going to do about it, right? But all I know is I'm doing this. And that's a great spot to be in a brand new format when nobody has sideboards that are tailored or anything like that. And so ultimately, I got to answer this question mid-sentence. Should we expect a Tough Nut showdown with Blue Pitch? I probably would be playing that deck if I was playing in the show match, but unfortunately, I think they're doing it this weekend, and I will be playing in San Diego. So unfortunately, this will be the first showdown that I miss. I do apologize, but you'll be in good hands with the guys, and they'll take care of you for sure. But unfortunately, this will be the first Blue Pitch show match that I will not be a part of. I don't know what you're gonna do without 9 Jittery Bones gravy. I mean, I had to meme on myself, bro. But Tough Nut's where it's at. I would 100% be playing Tough Nut in that show match. That's where I would be, bro. All the blue 6s, bro. I'm telling you. I'm gonna do a stream with that deck, and we're gonna get it on the map. I don't know how, but we're gonna make it happen. Okay. I'm gonna show you. So Brier, she's obviously really good. Vomit 0 for 4. She's very aggressive. She has the ability to kind of block on the tail end. And yeah, I think it's just a great overall spot to be. You're a little bit vulnerable to, so really you have, I guess this is the way to approach this. You have 3, maybe 4 decks that, and that's going to be Brier, Lexi, Fi, and maybe Ira are your 4 aggro decks that are basically just zooming. That is your group that is just trying to zoom, okay? And basically, each one kind of has its own strength and weakness, okay? Brier is probably the most consistent, and she has really good output, but she's very, very disruptible in regards to ice. So her weakness is just ice. If people think that she's going to show up in groves, you flip over a red Arctic incarceration, she just shits her pants, right? Can't do anything. If you want similar value, a little less consistency, then you bring in Fang, where you have the chess piece to bail you out of that situation. Okay. And so that's what you're trading, right? I think you're trading a little bit of offensive value and on hits and split damage and things like that. You're trading that for the ability not to just fold to ice, right? Because the first super inconvenient ice effect, you just negate it with that chest. It's absolutely insane. So fine, you get bailed out, okay? And then you have Lexi on the other end, where you are trying to pick on the other two. But really, the one that you pick on the most is just Brier, because like I said, Fi does similar numbers, but just has the bailout, okay? But Fi's problem is he does not block as well. So if you ever get his back against the wall with like, if Farvo becomes very relevant and things like that, or maybe Kayo with a lot of strong and survive and things like that, like it can get to be a problem really quickly. Okay. So that's kind of what we're looking at as far as where, and then Ira is just kind of, she's a little bit on an island because she does have the pitch to withstand ice. And she has the damage output, but I think she lacks consistency because, once again, you're introducing a deck that typically likes to leverage the blues with Kodachis and stuff and play some cards that actually require pitch. So you are sacrificing a little bit there, but you have a juiced hero ability that just gives you +1 value every single turn, which is insane. So that's ultimately what each one is kind of preying on. And so placing Brier is actually very difficult because if I was just doing it in a vacuum on a power level, she 100% goes into S tier. There's no question. However, she can instantly be hated out of any format. Any format by the amount of Lexi that shows up or Oldham, right? Those two decks, and even Icelander, I don't think Icelander is really a consideration, but those two decks, if they inject themselves into the format, she just gets hated out immediately. And I hopped in and only one of the heroes I play have been placed yet. Well, we shook it up a little bit and we're doing it by class now. So that must mean that you play like Illusionist or Ninja, because that's a Ranger. That's about all that's left. But yeah, so I got a little bit of a hot take here. Okay, I think what should happen after this past week, if you saw that 40% of the room, or whatever the number actually was, it was high, was Brier, and you, for whatever reason, think that carries over to the next event, you are so incentivized to bring Lexi if you want to still play an aggro deck and leverage that aspect. Okay? So I think that she is going to get just absolutely hated out of the format, okay, by the increase in Lexi. I think that's going to be the main driver. I think there's enough reasons not to play Oldham. There's a lot of Enigma. Your Kano matchup cannot be good. And you even lose DGA. So, yeah, you lose DGA. So, like, and you lose to Kayo. So like Oldham actually, it's not a very conducive meta to be bringing him, and maybe he's actually placed a little bit too high, to be honest. But uh, the bad matchup, she can just spit out 25 damage turn with ease. I mean, that is true. Like you always have that ability, and that's why she's not going in. Like she's here or here. Like there's no debate. It's one of those two. And that's why I'm saying, in my opinion, what I think will happen is in these next couple weeks, like San Diego, maybe the first and maybe even the second week of ProQuest season, I think she's going to get a lot of hate. And then the Lexis are going to get tired of maybe getting fatigued or whatever other problems arise. Maybe they lack a little bit of consistency, whatever the case may be. And they get tired of it. And then when they drop out, she'll kind of see a little bit more equity into the meta. So for the next couple weeks, I think she actually deserves a spot here. But if somebody wanted to put her here, like I get it. And maybe she is there overall. Like once again, the deck is good. It just does numbers and also like you don't have the blues to support. You're not disrupting Kano. I think you get chewed up by Kayo. So I'm gonna go against the grain a little bit, and I'm actually gonna drop her just one tier. She's 100% gonna lock in the top spot in A, but I just can't put her in S. I know she won the calling. I know this might be a hot take, and trust me when I say this, I'm a huge Brier fan. 100% transparency. She is one of two decks that I'm bringing to San Diego. I'm bringing her and another deck. So I think very highly of her. It's my favorite deck ever in Flesh and Blood, but I honestly, objectively think that this is where she would land. But if people don't respect it and people keep playing Brier and all of those, and Lexi does not make her way into the format, then she's easy S tier. Easy S tier, probably second best deck in the format. But I'm really expecting the Lexi to kick up. That's what I'm forecasting. If that doesn't pan out, then I'm an idiot and she's an S tier deck. Simple as that. So that's where I'm going to end up placing her. And we'll see how that kind of plays out. So let's go ahead and move on to the next. So we pretty much finished up Runeblade. I guess we can do Pirate real quick because there's just one. The Scurv card pool is not enough. Juiced hero ability, I'll admit, but like just not enough. Honestly, that's kind of disrespectful in Puffin. Maybe Puffin's there. Yeah. We can go with that. We'll put Scurv in a good old C tier. I don't see how you can bring hate for her when you have people who are going to bring Guardian no matter what, and you just lose playing Lexi. I don't think you do. In fact, my opinion is that Lexi is better into Guardian than Brier is. That's my opinion. Scurv has one big advantage, which is he eats Wizard alive. Explain that. I'm interested to hear your take on that. Because if that's true, I'll put him higher. If you can convince me that he's shitting on Kano, which I believe is the best deck in the format, I'll put him in B in a heartbeat. Easy money. But you got to convince me. If you don't have a Brier as a tattoo, are you really a fan? Well, there is somebody that has a Rosetta Thorn on the forearm, which is dope. Okay, and I have seen a couple Rune Chant tattoos as well. I don't do tattoos. So I do have a giant Brier card right next to my head. That's the best I can do. Okay. That's the best I got. Giant Brier card right there. If Scurv is the Kano counter, that would be awesome. At least this whole year, there won't be a single season where a Runeblade with a busted hero text won't dictate or warp the meta around it. That's exactly how it should be. Blue heavy deck that doesn't need his equipment, throws big numbers with go again, and plays AB3. Is Kayo not just better version of that? Because you only get the go again every other turn, right? That's the idea. Easy. We ban all the rune blades. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay. Speaking of, I thought of an idea that's actually really cool. And I'm going to do this. Whenever they announce the date for the first ban, I am going for one of the streams. I'm going to invite everybody to the stream, okay? Like 2 weeks before we vote or whatever the case may be. And we're going to call it the Sage Town Hall, okay? And we're just going to sit down and just talk it out, okay? The first topic of every session will be why Runeblade should not catch a ban. I'm just going to announce the bias ahead of time, okay? But past that, I'm going to like hear the viewpoints from chat and like try to just facilitate it, a discussion of points, right? And then you're going to have people that are going to come in and try to psyop, and I think it'll be like awesome. I think it'll be a lot of fun, and just yeah, I'm gonna do that. Nobody take my idea, and that's what we're gonna roll with. I'm actually super excited about it. Just talking about these heroes, and more so like somebody presents an idea of like, oh, let's ban all the rune blades, and then like, okay, well, if we do that, this is what happens, and we have that discussion. That way, we don't make the dev's life a living hell when they have to balance what we fuck up. Okay. So, but yeah, I think it would be I think it's a sick idea. And I'm really looking forward to that stream. I think it'd be really cool. So we'll definitely be doing that. Tough Nut S tier trust. I wish I want it so bad. But I couldn't do it. So moving on to what do we got? Ninjas, Rangers, and Illusionist. And then good old Gravy Bones in the corner. Okay. Let's do some of the Illusionist. Yeah, let's do Illusionist first. Okay. So, first up for Illusionist, and the one that's kind of the talk of the town is Enigma, right? And Enigma is what's supposed to be the counter for I think this deck, what it ultimately is going to ride on, what makes this deck good or bad, is how favorable the Kano matchup is. If it's not favorable, the deck I think is probably dog shit, to be honest. But it could be, if it's 50-50, the deck's good, and if it's highly favorable, the deck is phenomenal, right? Because you're gonna fold into KO, right? Like that's just gonna happen unless they brick and you can actually do tempo trades and things like that. There is a version of Enigma where you can probably try to just block out Brier and survive kind of game plan. And then DGA, if you can come up with a solution for the shunts and whatnot, maybe there's an angle there. But everything else, like you're really good into the other, you smoke the Guardians, right? It's the freest shit ever. And then you probably beat everything in B tier and lower. So it's going to have a lot of gym variance in your matchups. But at the end of the day, it seems like it has the potential, okay? And so I think that the deck is extremely solid. Also, with a reduction in aggro, which is what I think will happen, it'll still be the most represented archetype, if you will, but I think there'll just be overall a little less of it because we'll get more comfortable with ideas and things like that and find angles. I think Enigma's equity only goes up in that situation because obviously she prefers slower matchups. So I think the deck is phenomenal. I think she earns a spot in the upper mid A tier. Really, really good. I mean, it's just, I play a lot of Kano, homie, and I haven't found a bad matchup that wasn't just completely either my fault or bad RNG. That's why I think he's best deck in format, to be honest with you. So yeah, you fold into the ninjas. That's just how it happens. But everything else, like, I think he got a shot. So I think she's really respectable. Going into Prism is dog shit. Okay, just absolute booty cheeks. She's a hero that doesn't have hero text but has weapon text, and all her weapons are dog shit. Okay, simple as that. Moving on. Talking about Dromai, I'm gonna keep it a buck. Kano best deck in format till someone presents for a B. Yeah, that's not how that works. There's a lot of tools. You read the wizard cards to beat that. One is Crucible, so any 5 you're leaking, right? And you would have to go to up to AB4, AB5, and you'd have to have the blues to support the longevity, right? Because they're attacking you on both turn cycles. Theoretically, what they should do is they should lay out some arcane, do some Kano stuff. You pass, you've just AB6'd or whatever number, and now you have like 1 card in hand. Well, now they're going to Kano off the top, find some stuff, and then they're going to just rotate that, right? As far as Dromai goes, I don't know. I'm gonna keep this a buck. I don't want anybody to think I'm talking out of my ass or anything. I do not know. Okay. I can tell you she's an illusionist that doesn't have a shitty weapon. So like the bar doesn't have to be very high. I think like from a baseline, she does a strong thing. I think it ultimately comes down to how much opportunity cost is she paying to develop Ash. And if that number is too high, then I don't know what to tell you. Okay. But where things currently stand, I just don't know. So I'm going to go with a very safe. Okay. Could be A tier. I don't know. I'm going to put her in B. Okay. There has to be something there. There's fucking dragons and shit. Like, I get it. But I just don't know. I'm gonna keep it a buck. Okay. Dromai is just a bit too fair. I mean, that's where a B placement would be. So, but once again, I don't want to lie to anybody. I'm gonna let you know now. I just got no fucking clue. Okay. Farvo could be. Actually, the more we talked about Oldham, I actually agree. I'm not gonna move him above Enigma, but I do agree. We talked about Oldham's matchup, like shit matchup for Oldham, good matchup, shit matchup. So yeah, Oldham kind of falls off a little bit. Do agree. Okay, and now we're done with Illusionist already. Oh my goodness! So we got Ranger and Ninja. That's it. That's all that's left. We recovered really good. We did 20 in the first hour. And then in the next 40 minutes, we did like 30 something. We did good. Did good. Oh, with Rake the Embers, it'd be insane. Okay. So let's go ahead and get this out of the way. Marlin, I don't see it. Your harpoons are just dog shit, right? You don't have all the majestic ones. So, I mean, overpower is like good keyword. I'll give you that. But like, I don't know. Here, maybe there. Yeah, I'll go bottom of B. Disrespect from a great. Oh yeah, we do have a necromancer. Yeah, he's dog shit. I don't know what to tell you. He does a thing, but like 90% of the decks can just fatigue him. He doesn't really have any like good, strong anti-fatigue synergies. Um, it ain't it, homie. I don't know what else to say. So I'll disrespect him in two ways. I'll forget about him and put him in the bottom of the sea. Massive disrespect. Finishing up the Rangers, we will discuss. Oh my god, there's so many ninjas. Holy shit. There's literally 6 ninjas. That's insane. Riptide, you have the angle into aggro. I get it. But like, what else are you doing with your life? You know what else is good into aggro? 3 go again on hit stealth. So we'll put him right next to solitary confinement. Like, I see the vision. And if like that's all you're trying to beat up on, I get it. But I don't know. I don't see it. I don't see it. And it makes me cry because I love him. But I don't see you disagreeing. So I must be right. You didn't say I was wrong. You just said you hate seeing it. Okay. Now let's talk about Azalea. I think Azalea is actually... So Azalea's super interesting. Okay, and I'll explain why. When we first were exposed to the Sage format, this deck was the talk of the town. Okay, everybody was like, "Oh my god, you get the laces, you get the infecting shot, you get Bolton shots, you get all like her toolkit's like you don't get Red in the Ledger, sure. And sure you don't get Rain Razors and stuff like that. But like the equipment's good. You don't have cross wrap, but like, you know, you can make do. The deck like does the thing. And I think this is a deck that will get a lot better over time. I just think for a lot of my decks that I initially built in Sage, okay, every sideboard was the same. It didn't matter what the hero was. There was the 40 cards, what I'm trying to accomplish, and then a fuck ton of defensive cards. Because I didn't really know what I was trying to attack, right? And I think that that's what ultimately happened in the world premiere calling. Was a lot of people didn't know what to target, and they were like, fuck it, unmovable, run it, right? Or D-reacts of some kind, or whatever the case may be. You know, didn't have a lot to really base the sideboarding off of. So if we look deep into that, what's actually should happen, theoretically, is we should see a transition from, especially with Kano theoretically being the best deck in the format, that unmovable looks way more uncomfortable when you need to start running AB, Spell Void, Arcane Polarity. You see what I'm saying? Those sideboard slots start to, you know, really get a lot lighter or a lot less of them. So this is a deck that I think got a really bad rap at that tournament, probably not a great conversion rate, but it was because players just, they didn't know what to leverage. And that's just anybody that's been playing Flesh and Blood. Sideboards for a tale as old as time, that like I would say 80% of all decks have D-reacts in the sideboard. It is just how you play the, oh, I'm playing against Syndra, put in my shelters, right? Like it's just a natural tendency. And I think what happened to Azalea was that carried over to Sage, which in a developed and figured out format, that should dissolve a little bit. And the D-react should come in a little bit lighter. There'll still be some with like, you know, Runeblades having good ones and things like that. And of course, Guardian will be a pretty shit matchup. But I expect a lot from this hero going forward as there's more pressure put on those sideboard slots. So I'm going to put her toward the bottom end of A right now, but honestly could work her way up to mid to top of A, you know, as those sideboards get more stringent. And when that happens, I think That's what we're going to end up going with. So that's my theory on Azalea and why she had a less than optimal performance the first calling. So nothing but up from here is my prediction. Yeah, DM, sorry. Kano is, in my opinion, not fact, but in my opinion, the best deck in format. Mage Masters, Crucible, 2 for 5, 2 for 5 is an insane line, and immediately works the life total down into that threat territory and just, gives the Kano player complete agency. And 15 life just doesn't matter, in my opinion. But once again, more than willing to be incorrect on that one. That's incorrect. Okay. I didn't know. My bad. I would love for you to tell me what is correct. What is the best deck in the format? I'm going to go on a limb here and say it's whichever deck is your favorite. Is that correct? Just a guess. So the last Ranger to discuss is Tell That to Fi. Okay, that's respectable. Okay, I can respect that. That's a respectable best deck in format pick. I respect it. So let's talk about good old Lexi. Now, this one's interesting, right? Because she theoretically, in the first stage of any meta, red deck wins. That's like a tale as old as time. The next level, I think, are the path of least resistance, and why I put Brier in A tier, not S tier. I think the next step is you bring the aggro deck that targets the other aggro deck. And we've seen this hundreds of times. We saw it with Noah Bagelman's Viserai, where it was an aggressively structured deck on the basis of value, but it preyed on the ability of like, okay, you're going to aggro into me. I'm going to take advantage of that, right? And maybe aggro deck that targets aggro is the wrong thing to say, but just whatever targets that aggro deck. And Lexi is the best player to really do that because you're not vulnerable into the things like Oldham. And I don't think the Ice Lexi is the future either. You have to have that throughput. You got to present a lot of damage, but I think it goes a long way to have a Lexi deck with some Arctic Incarcerations and some Winter's Bites in the sideboard or something, right? I think that goes a really long way, and you can force a lot of stuff. I mean, there's a lot of plays that you can make, and the lightning aspect of the hero is lightning is probably the best talent in Sage right now. I think that's a very reasonable thing to say. Just the amount of go again that you get and 0 for 4s in general. I think lightning is just strictly the best talent. And then, Runeblaze is the best class, but it is what it is. Clearly not, because I put Brier in A, but it is, it'd be like that. And so I think that this hero just has the potential to really just pop off in this meta. Now, once again, similar to the situation in Azalea, I don't think the Lexi play. I think what happened and why Lexi had a bad conversion in Sage was I think they probably went too far in either direction. They either did not play any ice or they played too much, because in a Lexi deck, overdoing it on the ice is so easy to do, and it can just destroy what you're actually trying to do. Okay? So I think that just a very subtle, tasteful touch of ice is the best thing that you can do for a very aggressive Lexi deck to gain the edge. You don't need a lot. You just need that one. You flip over that one red Arctic Incarceration, block out, play it, arsenal card. Congrats. You probably won the game because you made 4 Frostbites while they had full tempo, and they probably just pass. Or they play a 4-card 4 or something crazy like that into these aggro decks. And it's just insane. So now, obviously, like I mentioned before, Fi has the chess piece to just bail him out of that situation. Okay? So be wary of that. If Fi steps up and tries to fill that void, you get a lot less equity from it. But also, if I'm being 100% honest, I think that Lexi, as long as you build the deck correctly and you don't invest too much into the ice, against Fi, just say, fuck it. You got the chess piece. I'm not going to waste my time running those cards. I'm just going to aggro you down. And I think that Lexi legitimately has the numbers to actually push, or actually contend with you. She doesn't necessarily need the ice in that matchup. So Psyop, Brier, Kayo, best decks in format. DGA. I keep saying Farvo, but people are saying Flavo. I don't know. I like Farvo better. Doesn't make sense, but I like it better. Kano is just insane. I think Kano is so good. And I think KO is really good too. Fuck it, I'll say it. KO is the other deck that I'm bringing to San Diego. So I'm on one of two decks for San Diego. That is either KO or Brier. Those are the two decks I'm bringing. I'm undecided on which one I'm going to actually land on because I want to play Brier just because I want to play Brier. But at the same time, I think, objectively, based on the tier list, I think KO is the better bring. So I'm kind of fighting with myself on, do I want to just play what I like or do I want to be maximally competitive, whatever. I don't think it's that much of a gap, so I don't think it's that serious, but it is what it is. No hero is broken in this format. There's a lot of unbroken heroes. We can put it that way. It's very bottom heavy, this format. But it is what it is. So back to Lexi. I think Lexi's a very, very good pick. And yeah, I think that it's ultimately going to depend on what she can ultimately do as far as, is it more Fi that shows up or more Brier and kind of how much Guardian? Once again, Oldham's a terrible matchup, probably. But at the same time, like this up here, like the only thing that you're good into is Lexi and Brier. You lose all of these. So I don't think Oldham's that good of a bring, to be honest. So we'll see. We'll see. And now we go into the ninja class, okay? And Syndra, I'm sorry, she's just bad. Like, I don't know how else to say it. There's no like real legitimate reason to lean on her. The dagger synergy just isn't there without flick knives. Sure, you got just basic generic ninja cards that do the thing, but like it's just not enough. Okay. Same thing for Benji. I know it can get cute, and I know we saw one in the calling, but yeah, I just don't see the vision there. So I'm gonna put them right next to each other because I think they're probably equally as bad. If the Runeblade lover don't bring Brier, we riot. I mean, and that is a lot of heroes. It's a ton, bro. We went through like 50 something heroes, and half of them were ninjas apparently. So Katsu is also in a weird spot. Katsu's kind of, I'm gonna be honest, I think he's kind of bad. He doesn't have a lot of the tricks to really get him over. And even if you get over, like you can't go that far down a very relevant combo line to really take advantage of it. So the risk isn't worth the reward. And you're just the most inconsistent ninja. And it just isn't worth it. It does a thing. It does it okay, but it's not great. As far as these three, so Zen's a very interesting one. A lot of people just are like, oh, Zen has to be good. You can go fetch whatever you want. But I would kind of challenge that idea with like, what are you going to fetch? No chase the tail, no, a lot of those broken cards are the ways that like Zen back in the day kind of leveraged a lot of that value was going and snagging those really good Majestics, Tiger Swipe, things like that, just bonds, obviously. And, I just don't think that for the first time ever, a tutoring hero is not that great. And it's because they just don't have good cards to tutor. Now that may change if somebody finds a line of combo cards that makes it busted. At best, maybe key and lead, but like that's not even that good because you can't even like synergize it with your weapon because it's out of curve. I mean, it's just not great. Like it just isn't. So he's serviceable because he has like he can get value from his blues, so he acts as a pitchless, aggro deck, and he defends pretty well. And he has access to wax on, which is like or wax on, wax off, whichever one is the 0 for 5 block. Um, but that's any ninja. And so like the toolkit's there, like it's probably serviceable. Somebody will probably come up with something that is serviceable, is what I would put him at, like a respectable bring. I don't think he's going to make a huge impact on the meta by any means. Um, I think he can aggro down Kano, in my opinion, but has a rough time into. If he can, I'm assuming you're referring to Katsu. That's if he draws the good hand. What if he draws the bad hand? Then he's just standing there doing nothing. Ira is the aggro deck if you can't make a decision. If you like, you don't want to like be exposed to ice, but you don't want to like you want to be able to block decent, and you want to like a little mid-range opportunity. She's like the jack of all trades kind of pick between the ninja lot. Really solid bring. I think that all you need to do is just read the hero power. It's +1 every single turn. You get a lot of value from that, and ultimately the problem is like I hinted at the beginning of the video, I think the idea of mid-range is kind of dead in Sage. You have to just be breaking the mold of like 2-card 8s and things like that. You have to either go all in, all out, or really affect people's ability to leverage value, and she doesn't really do that. The only thing that she does is make it awkward to block, but if all you're doing is swinging Kodachis, I think you just get beat on the basis of value. So I love the idea of Kodachis, like they mentioned in chat, but at the same time, once again, she's really good. I'm honestly going to put her in the A tier, probably toward the bottom, but she is kind of missing that consistency and just the raw throughput. But she does the thing. She does the thing. And yeah, she has the ability to go fast, but the problem is like the faster you go, the less value you're getting from your hero ability and so forth, right? So it's pretty interesting, but that's where I'd end up putting Ira. So now we can talk about Fi. And Fi is a very interesting pick because on paper, he should have a lot of the answers that you need for a lot of these heroes. The Arcane Spell Void hat is actually not as good as we thought because the Kano deck that you would run it for is not trying to kill you at the end of your combat chain anymore. And so, I just don't. I guess the question is, what are you targeting? You have the counter to Lexi's Ice. I'll give you that. You have the best angle to survive fatigue with Phoenix Flame and Sword. So sure, you beat Oldham. I think you get dumpstered by Disruptive, right, on hits, choke slams and debilitates and buckling blows and all of these things. You get absolutely dumpstered on. And I think Kayo can outrace you. I don't think you're crazy good against Kano, to be honest with you. And you're 50-50 at best against Brier. Brier probably has the higher ceiling, a little less consistent. And sure, you're going to absolutely shit on every Enigma you ever see. Fair. But I worry, and Shane with the Runaways brought this up in my last stream, I believe. But he made the point of he's concerned about the block value behind Fi, and I think that's an extremely valid point to make. That if you ever get put in that position where you have to actively block, like we're talking snatches against Brier, we're talking or the one that deals the extra arcane on hit, just so many like different little burn up shocks, whatever the case may be. And then Kayo, you have strongest to survive and a bunch of those. And Lexi has some on hits too, right? Like I think that's where, and Fi's hands usually scale. So you don't really, you have no business blocking 2 cards, sending 2 cards, or anything like that. You really just need to play your hand out. And there's a lot of decks in the format that are just going to punish you for trying to take on that plan. So I cannot put him in S tier. I think he has too much of a weakness that you can expose. However, with that being said, he's obviously like really, really good. So I would have to put him probably right next to DGA with Lexi, and suffers from a little bit of consistency sometimes, but usually pretty good. But ultimately, I think that's where we're gonna land. So normally, for the longest time, I've had 3 decks in S tier, and maybe that is the line, right? It looks cleaner. Okay. I'll concede. I'll concede the Brier placement. She's S tier. Plus, she's Brier. Okay. But we just made it through like almost 60 heroes. Okay. And I can't believe I conceded the Brier point. I just want to put the asterisk there that I think she's going to get dumpstered this weekend, because there's going to be a lot of Lexis and stuff like that move into the format, and I'm a little worried about it, to be honest. So here or here, one of the two, but she could still just blow them up if they don't get the ice cards. So we'll give her some points for that. So this is the tier list. A ton of decks in B tier, and a ton of decks just completely should not even be entertained. And to be honest, like Prism's probably here too. Like, I don't know. There's just such a disparity for these heroes. And this is ultimately what I'm curious about, what LSS does for the format of Sage, is you have these heroes, which there's not this many useless heroes in like the normal classic constructed format, right? There are some useless ones, trust me, but there ain't this many. And maybe I'm being unfair because the Casais can just run DGA slop, and the Bravo can run block slop, and like there are versions that are playable, but like these are never going to get played. Like you ban Oldham or Farvo, Bravo doesn't move up. You just go to the next one of these two. Oh, you ban both of these? Go to Valda, right? Like you're never going to go to Bravo. We would have to ban all 3. Oh, you go to Victor. Like literally. Unless they give him a Starstruck or something like that. Just, it is what it is. At least my boy Gravy ain't in the F tier. I mean, he does have allies, so like he can't be that bad. But it ain't good, Chief. It ain't good. Honestly, Syndra would probably be down here. There's also not as many heroes this season. That's a good point. Maybe my scale is off. That's a good point, though. That's a good point. Brier, Fi, Kano, Kayo. Brier is how it felt for me. Got Brier in there twice. Told you I'm gonna figure it out. All right, let's see it. Let's see it. Orion can't be F tier. They got Codex. Oh wait, that one goes hard. Oh man, doesn't Silver Age feel like worse Blitz? Hard disagree. Blitz was the closest thing that I could compare it to is like cancer. And I'm just kidding. It's not that bad, but Blitz was just so much power, so little life that people were just vomiting wins. There was not a lot of agency. We saw it at Worlds. It was a shit show. Okay. It was literally LL, but like you didn't have time to make up any changes or discrepancies or anything like that. It was I think Yu-Gi-Oh! That's a perfect analogy. Blitz was literally Yu-Gi-Oh! Without hand traps. Perfect example. AKA dog shit. And because it's comparable to Yu-Gi-Oh, it meant that your cards were more likely to be stolen as well. I'm just kidding. Just a little jab at the Yu-Gi-Oh players, you know. But yeah, I think this is where we land, and I'm interested in seeing how the format kind of develops. Very curious, and somebody's crying because they know it's true. That's why that's so funny. I'll tell you a little. I'll tell you a little funny story here. I was walking around. I was walking around the first U.S. Nationals, which was like my first. I had never been in an event hall for cards. Okay, I never went into a place and been more than 20 people playing cards. So I roll up to first U.S. Nationals playing Fab, and I'm just like, holy shit, this is amazing. I was like, immediately I knew. I was like, this is for me. Okay. Then I was walking with some people from Georgia, some of the card guys like Kyle or whatever. And I was walking with Kyle actually. And I pointed at somebody. I was go, Kyle, why is he wearing his backpack like that? And it was just somebody that had their backpack in reverse to where their backpack was just in front of them. And the straps were like in the back. And I was like, why the fuck is he wearing his backpack like that? And Kyle goes, oh, that's a Yu-Gi-Oh player. And I was like, well, what the fuck does that mean? He goes, he's trying not to get his shit stolen. And I just started dying laughing over the fact that people re-engineered the way to wear a backpack so your shit don't get stolen. Okay? I was just rolling on the floor. I was dead. Okay? It was the funniest shit on the planet. And everybody that I tell that to that has a Yu-Gi-Oh experience is like, yep, that's normal. That's normal. Like it's just like a Tuesday. We don't have those problems in Fab. In fact, like every like stolen card situation is always like somebody breaking into somebody's car. Like it's not another Fab player or anything. I'm sure some Fab players have stolen cards or whatever, but like I don't know. I've never seen it or like heard stories about it or anything like that. So don't take the Fab community for granted is the point of that story. Okay. Not saying all Yu-Gi-Oh players are bad. I'm just saying y'all have a reputation that needs repairing. That's all I'm saying. I'm a new player, and my first tournament was Blitz. Quite the experience. Yeah, it was. It probably just like felt like you just hooked up an IV of coffee, and it was just high octane, right? Like it was. It's just it doesn't help you on the cost of entry problem because the equipment's still $500, right, or whatever it was at the time. And, so all of that was just the same. Congrats. Now you only have to spend $200 on CNCs instead of $300. It doesn't fucking matter, right? So you still have that problem. And then just like there's no agency. And I think the whole reason that people flood to the game of Flesh and Blood is they enjoy the aspect of having agency. And in Blitz, it just wasn't there. So they, why are you deleting my pro Blitz comments? I haven't deleted any comment. I have no idea what you're talking about. In fact, I can officially say I've been streaming for about 3 years now. 2, 3, I don't know. However many years. I've never deleted a comment ever. Period. Never happened. That's not true, Nathan. It had somebody bust my car window and leave a Marvel Betsy on the seat. Stay safe out there. Oh my god, that's a tweet. That is a tweet. Oh my god, that's a good one. That's not true. Somebody broke your car. Oh, that's good. That's a good one. First and second still feels like a big deal in Sage. To be honest, that's actually so true. He doesn't even know how to delete a comment. That's actually true, but let's test it out. I'm going to try to delete that one. Hey, we did it. Who knows how to do it now? We're figuring this shit out, okay? Ailio in C tier. I guess he's winning San Diego. Damn it. But you're probably right. What I need to like metagame this situation and then just skip C tier. Just like move all of these up and down and be like, oh, what's going to happen now? We figured it out. Apparently, it's as simple as clicking the 3 dots and hitting remove. So, not too complicated. Your boy got there. Okay, we figured out how to delete comments. Okay, so anybody that disagrees with me, you won't be able to. No, I'm just kidding. I would never. Dude probably saw the binder of Marvel Betsy and was like, okay, I guess I'll leave this right here. Or just felt bad for him. He needs this more than me. I'm excited to play my B tier heroes. Well, there's a lot of them are respectable. Like Dromai, Florian, Icelander, ladies. Like Levia and up, I think is like super respectable. To be honest, I think I was too generous on the B tier placements, and I would probably like shift these down and then move like Aurora to Katsu and probably like upper C tier, to be honest. This could be a little better, but give me a break. It was fucking like 60 heroes. So we're figuring it out, you know? Sage has me so excited for Fab. Price has always held me back. And that's the beautiful part about it. That's what I'm looking forward to the most, is it really just solves that problem. DGA makes me want to give up my love of Warrior. It's just the best way to play Warrior right now. And to be honest, from banning DGA does not make the situation better. I think it just neuters the class. Like, if you don't have DGA, what are you doing with the Warrior class? Let's be honest. Let's have that discussion. Like, what are you gonna get your 3 fealty tokens and fang people to death? No, you're gonna die before you get your second one. Is what's gonna happen. And then the matchups where you actually get them, guess what? It doesn't matter because you're getting fatigued. Like, it is what it is. Chain pre-ban got me in tears, but you know it needed to happen. You know it had to happen. Warrior's whole identity is the axe. That it's true. I don't like it either. Like, I wish it wasn't the case, but sadly, fatigue is kind of what's becoming the big bad of the game. Well, this goes back to, I've always, in a card game where you draw a hand every single turn and you don't have carryover other than the arsenal, which count that for what it is, you are asking a lot from an aggro deck to consistently draw 4 random cards off the top of their deck and produce an above amount of value. You're asking a lot to just draw every synergy that you could ever need, the right amount of attacks, the right amount of non-attacks, the pitch card, whatever the case may be. You have to rip that every single turn. 4 cards, again. You're asking a lot. And that is why, historically, every single aggro deck that has done well in Flesh and Blood invalidates that concept in one way or another. They, one, don't require pitch cards. Brier, to play her turn, she don't need the blue. She has them, but doesn't need them. You have Syndra, Vi, Zen got to play the blues like they were reds. So that's the same fucking thing. So there was no opportunity cost in that ratio. And you take any aggro deck that requires a blue card and they're nowhere near as good. Kayo's a good example. Lasted way longer than the other ones, right? What's the next comparable thing? I don't even know if there is an aggro deck that's LL that like hard just required a blue every turn. Because you're just asking yourself too much. Lexi maybe, but that bow was just busted. Okay, like Voltaire was just cracked. Absolutely insane. So, but on the flip side of the game mechanics and the way the game is designed, when you draw 4 cards and all you have to do is put them sideways, it doesn't matter the synergies that you draw. They all have 3 or 4 in the bottom. So you put them in front of the opponent's card. So there's no, oh, I hope I draw the right number of this and that. No, you just put the card sideways. And so no matter what, you're going to extract the value that your deck is supposed to extract. And guess what? You might say, oh, well, what if I don't attack them? Okay, well, then they're just going to punch you in the face with whatever they draw. And that's not very productive. So historically, the only thing that beats that slow dirtle shit is board state and combo. Those, you historically, unless the aggro deck is so broken to where it can invalidate the ratios, like Syndra, no pitch cards, you just vomit all this shit, keep the chain links alive, and like, you got it. So that's just my thought on putting your card sideways in a low power format a lot of the time. And that's, it's actually interesting from a design perspective because a lot of people are probably going to hate Brier at the end of the season, be absolutely tired of her. And I get it. I understand. But and some people might say you need to ban Rabble, you need to ban Lightning Press, you need to ban this, that, and you do that. And guess what happens? The block slop gets way better. Because now you don't have to run as many D reacts. You get to run Aura Hate instead, and this and that. So like getting that aggro to the point at which it's safe and healthy for the 4, it's gonna be really difficult. It's gonna be exceptionally difficult. Okay. And hopefully they can do it. Rune blades are bad for the game. Well, it turns out I just learned how to delete comments. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, rune blades are amazing for the game. I mean, face purgatory, bro. Creepers. Oh my god, it's just the best class. If you think any other class, okay, is better, you're just objectively wrong. Runeblade is the coolest shit on the planet. Has it had a ton of balance issues? There could possibly be some truth behind that statement, okay? I'm not looking at you, Chain. But that does not change the fact that Runeblade is badass, okay? It I don't know what it is about it. It's like the risk reward of the ratios and split damage and the action point manipulating. I know it does a lot. But man, it's dope. Okay, I don't know what else to say. All Runeblade hate is getting the smackdown now. Flesh and Runeblade. I mean, mixed damage helps beat the blocking. Yeah, of course. Now, Wizard is not the best class. Wizard is bad for the game. So is Illusionist. That is just that is an objective statement. Just it is. I respect what they do for the game. But man, they just make you question flying 4 hours to an event when you get paired into one and it's a polarizing matchup is all I'm going to say. How is Wizard bad for the game? I just think it's really polarizing, right? And I don't like Wizards and Illusionists produce the most feels bad moments in Flesh and Blood. Period. Nobody can disagree with that statement. Even more than the aggro decks just blowing you up, because aggro exists in every game ever. Okay, but just sitting down like a Kano player into an Oldhim, and it's just like the Oldhim player. His win con is that you eat your cards instead of play them. That's the Oldham's win con. Okay, is that the Wizard or Illusionist player eats their cards instead of resolve them. Okay, and that's like the only hope they have to win. And it's just it's you sit there for 50 minutes or however long, probably not because it's Wizard Illusionist, and you just get rolled, right? Or the Illusionist player or Wizard player isn't like familiar enough with the matchup, and then it's not really a game, sure, but I don't know. Creates some feels bad moments, but I appreciate why they exist in the game and in the importance, right? Because we mentioned the whole blocking situation, how easy it is to convert the value. Well, Illusionist and Wizard are the things that kind of keep that in check, because blocking is 100% easier and better if board state and Wizard does not exist. So, thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Wizard just got a playable counter spell. Yeah, I don't know about that card. Okay, I don't actually know if it's that good. Is an Ailio player actually going to sit on it to counter the Blood Rush spell? Like, I don't know. I think people are just like looking at that card. It's not bad. Don't get me wrong, because you can like counter Bell with it and all kind of shit. But I think people are just looking at it, and they're well. I was thinking it was a red instant that you can't block with. And I was like, what if it gets stuck in his hand? And I realized that his hero ability literally just filters that shit out. So what I want you to do is ignore everything I just said. Um, Cards busted. Okay. Um, yeah, you're right. You're right. You don't have to sit on it. The only thing holding back the Asilio players is the judge Discord. And they spend half their time talking about interactions instead of winning games. It's the only thing holding back Asilio players. New KO tech. Blood Rush out, no misses. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. All right. Well, I think for our first ever Sage tier list, I think we did pretty decent. Okay. Way too many heroes. LSS, we gotta get this in check. All those shit at the bottom, let's just take them out. Okay. So we don't have to do this. We need to make game breaking decisions to make the tier list easier, is what we ultimately need to do. But on a serious note, I really do appreciate everybody joining me. Ton of fun having these interactions and discussing all of these things. I really do appreciate it. I actually can't wait for the CC tier list when we get around to it. Maybe next week. I might delay it one more week. I gotta get some more reps. I've been focusing a little bit on Silver Age, but I I think CC. A lot of people are having the mindset of a lot of things are gonna just not change, and at the top they're correct. But I think with the some of the like B and A tier decks kind of getting a bump, I think what it does is decks that get a lot of value from targeting lose a ton of value, because I think the spread is going to be a lot wider, and I think that in and of itself will actually, you know, will actually, have quite a big impact. Um, Nathan, do you like the current Brier list? I like the flexibility of the current deck. Yes. I think what everybody's playing is pretty optimal. I tried to make the Earth one work. It does the thing. It's good, but it's not as good as just normal 0 for 4 Brier. Now, if the format ever devolves into just block slop everywhere, then you know, then the Earth Brier, you would have a legit reason to play it. But where things stand, I think just normal aggro Brier is, you know. I'm curious if people start leaning into the possibility of, because with Flourish and Sprout, you have a critical mass of Earth. I'm wondering if maybe with all the elemental cards, maybe you can dip into Weave Earth Red for a 4 pump. And then maybe at that point you lean into Bramble, something like that. It does add some inconsistency to the deck, so I would not advise it. I'm just curious of how the deck list kind of evolves from where it's currently at. Um, so interested to see where it lands. If Toughnut is an 8, I'm gonna get him there. I don't know how yet, but I'm gonna get him there. Okay, RKO Tech, please. So I said it was Savage Claw Tech. Okay. But here's the interesting comment. Who said it was for RKO? Think about that for a sec. Who said the Savage Claw Tech was for RKO? I didn't say that. I didn't say that at all. I'll leave you with that. Okay, I'll keep you guessing another week. I didn't say it was for RKO. I just said the Bruce would be fine with Savage Claw. That's what I said. I'm a coward and I play Fry instead of Bramble. I'm right there with you, boss. I thought about it a little bit. I was like, do I want to get fancy? But I was like, nah, fuck it. Fry's just too consistent. Too consistent. So, but yeah, thank you all so much for joining me. I appreciate the banter. I love the people telling me I'm right, telling me I'm wrong, all in between. Really do appreciate it. And if I see you in San Diego, please stop by, say hey. And then also, like I said, I'll be between rounds and likely on Friday. I'll be at the Righteous Gaming booth. Stop by. If you need cards, that's the place to go. Yeah, and I'd love to see all of y'all there. So, y'all take care, and I will see y'all next week.